In Canada, demanding the resignation of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, investigative journalism on corruption in the defense sector led to personnel decisions, and suspect in the murder of Catherine Gandzyuk Vladislav manger removed an electronic bracelet. On these and other scandals of the week, in our review. Last week a storm of criticism fell upon the crowd favorite, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He was accused that pressured former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould in the case of corruption that was carried out against the company Saint-Lavalin. According to the former Attorney General, Trudeau, within a few months he convinced her that the trial of the company will have a lot of negative consequences, particularly the loss of many Canadian jobs, and this in turn will cost Trudeau and his party votes. Trudeau himself denies that he pressured former Attorney General and said that any attempt to defend Saint-Lavalin from it and his entourage had a single goal: to avoid the loss of Canadian jobs. He did not agree with this version of events, which sounded to Wilson-Raybould, and claims to have always dealt with it within the rules. Journalists BS. Info last week unveiled new details of probable corruption schemes in the field of defense. In the investigation referred to, a multi-year scheme washing away hundreds of millions of hryvnia, Ukrainian defense complex. In addition to the former Deputy National Security Council Secretary Oleg Gladkovsky, in writings of journalists appears the current head of Ukroboronprom, Paul Buchan. These officials allegedly received kickbacks for defense contracts. While the scandal has hit President Petro Poroshenko, who calls to reform the army and strengthen the defense of a key objective during his election campaign. After the promulgation of the investigation of Petro Poroshenko on 4 March signed a decree on dismissal Gladkovsky from the post of Secretary of the Council of National Security and Defense of Oleg Gladkovsky. Although the Oleg Gladkovsky, like his son, who is also appearing in journalists, denies the charges. In Ukraine continue to increase, the Passion campaign. Did you know that there is such a candidate, Yuri Tymoshenko? His name and initials coincide with candidate Yulia Tymoshenko, and therefore many call it a technical candidate. The next day the Prosecutor General's office reported that out to the organizer of this bribery is the MP from the faction, Batkivshina, Valery Dubal. Yuri Lutsenko hopes that next week the parliament strip him of immunity so that it can be brought to justice. Condensed milk from the town of Ichny of Chernihiv region with the images of the wives of the famous Ukrainian historical figures angered not only Ukrainian, but also Russian segment of the internet. Known in Ukraine, producer of dairy products decided to release a March 8 special advertising labels for condensed milk with the image of the wives of the leader of Iron Stepan Bandera, Yaroslav, commander of the Upper Roman Shukovich, Natalia, writer Mikhailo Kotsubinskogo, Faith and Hetman of Ukraine in 1918, Skoropadsky Paul, Alexandra. And not only in Ukraine, the leading journalists of the main news programs of Russian TV Vladimir Solovyov and Olga Skaba also took part in the discussion. The company argued that these wives not to be banal. And the goal of the campaign is to attract attention, so people began to Google or search in Wikipedia information who these women are. Last week, the court refused to extend the measure to the chairman of the Kherson Regional Council Vladislav Manger, who is suspected in the murder of activist Catherine Gandzyuk. Arrested Mr. Manger on February 15 with a right of pledge in million hryvnias. Almost immediately, the suspect's lawyer paid the money. Manger was released from jail with an electronic bracelet. March 4 was a time measure. Therefore, the court reviewed its sequel, and rejected the corresponding petition of the prosecutor's office. A deposit of 2.5 million hryvnia remains as indefinite wasts. Also, the manger is required to report to the investigator. Student Wayne Gayer brought to class his little daughter to Asat, because he could not find her a nanny. He explained the situation to the teacher, Nathan Alexander, and the entire 50-minute lecture held the baby in her arms, for the student to write the summary.